Good morning and welcome to this week's pet pairing. Did we have a pet pairing last week? Now I'm actually not sure whether maybe I didn't skip last week because I made other sorts of videos. Anyway, I'm happy to be back with this video. I was actually going to skip because I've been feeling really tired and I've been thinking of just like doing my lipstick rotation video this week and calling it quits. But then again, I was under the shower. Told you guys I get my best ideas under the shower. And I had an idea for a look, so I thought, you know what, tired or not tired, I'm just going to come and record the look because I think it might turn out really cute. And it's going to be sort of like a follow-up to the look I did a couple of weeks ago with the green liner, because I want to do liner again, but today it's going to be, guess what? Purple. Anyway, let me start doing my makeup and we can also start chatting about, you know, as usual, random topics. I'm first and foremost going to apply a little bit of my eyeshadow primer. This is now the remaining part of my Inglot eyeshadow primer. I cut the tube and I squeezed, or like I scooped whatever I could out of there because I'm that kind of person. I don't like waste. And specifically with products that I think are still okay to use, like they're not old, they're not expired, they haven't changed in consistency, and they're still perfectly fine. I think it is such a waste to leave them back in the tube because squeezy tubes, as much as I like squeezy tubes, and I prefer them to doe foot applicators because the squeezy tube is annoying because a lot is left behind, especially if the product is somewhat thicker, such as, you know, eyeshadow primers tend to be quite thick. But it is even worse with doe foot applicators. And it's really putting me off, for example, from trying the Pat McGrath eyeshadow primer because that one comes in a doe foot applicator type of packaging. And I think so much of it is going to be left behind and wasted and I can't cut it to get it out. So I really am very reluctant to try it solely for that reason. And also because I've heard from people that if you have very oily lids, it actually doesn't hold up that well. And I have very oily eyelids, so I don't know. For foundation today, I'm going to take my Estee Lauder Double Wear in the shade 2N1. Speaking of Pat McGrath labs, a couple of you messaged me being really annoyed at angry at the limited edition release of the Divine Rose 2 palette. And I gotta tell you, I didn't really like think one way or the other about that release. I honestly couldn't care less. I think the Divine Rose 2 palette is a fabulous palette, and at this point I would much rather see her re-release her original majestic motherships than the newest abomination that she has released this past... Okay, this is maybe a little bit like taking it too far. I'm just being jokingly sarcastic. I don't think Sunlit Seduction is an abomination. I don't think it's a great palette, but I also don't think it's an abomination. So I don't want you to take it as in I'm being literal here. But at this point I would rather take her release some of the original, you know, 8 or 9, because those were really fantastic, in limited edition packaging than something new that will be truly disappointing. Because that's the thing, when she re-releases something that is, you know, a solid product in her lineup, at least I don't have to deal with the disappointment of her releasing something new that I don't like. So I understand if a lot of you got excited when you saw a mothership packaging and then you peeked inside and you realized it's just good old Divine Rose 2 palette. But she just released her Valentine's Day collection. I don't think a mothership is in the stars for us until the summer. If history has taught us anything, it is that as of 2019, her mothership releases are always in the summer. So don't expect a mothership before the summer, and also curb your expectations because it's probably not going to be anything like the original like 3. You know, we long for those olden days. I don't think those olden days are coming back because the more I look at the recent releases from the brand and the way they've been going. By the way, I'm going to take the Skin Correct from Dior in the shade 1N. I really get this very strong feeling that Pat is no longer at the steering wheel in terms of like creative direction. I think she was very hands-on in the first few years, especially like motherships 1 through, I want to say 8 or 9 even. But I think since she's slowly been letting loose of the reins, and I am convinced that someone else is in the steering wheel of the creative direction of her brand. So because you can see it just feels so different. It just feels like a different person is creating these products now. And this different person definitely isn't the genius brains of Pat McGrath. The genius brains of Pat McGrath are now busy creating masterpieces like that Haute Couture show, that Haute Couture runway show for Maison Margiela. So You know, she's still out there, she's still doing her thing. She's just unfortunately not bestowing us with her creative genius in terms of her makeup line. So I think we need to just get used to that idea. So I'm already preparing myself for disappointment when it comes to the Mothership release. And I think I'm going to just start being more selective with the things I buy from Pat McGrath Labs, because they're no longer being created by Pat McGrath. I was in love with the brand when Pat McGrath was actually creating the products, and now I no longer think she is doing that, so I'm far less tempted to be on board with every release. I'm going to take the Airbrush Flawless Finish Powder from Charlotte Tilbury in the shade One Fair. So to cut the long story short, no, I didn't really experience that Mothership release one way or the other. I think if it was meant to be, you know, a little bonus, a little special bonus for Valentine's Day, it is a palette that really suits the occasion. I will be completely honest with you, I don't like the Divine Rose 2 against that gold packaging. Something about it is aesthetically off-putting to me. I don't know why the Decadence palette worked in the gold packaging, or something about this new gold packaging is different, but it looks ugly to me, I'll be completely honest with you. And from what I understand, it is also coming at a higher price range. It is $150. So I'm not quite sure what's going on there. Also, when it comes to the Divine Rose 2 palette, and I know for a lot of people that's not going to be the case, but that packaging came back so often that by now I think everyone who wanted it probably has it. We have the pink chrome packaging of the Divine Rose 2 palette. Nothing can ever top that. I'm going to quickly do my brows with the Too Faced Fluff and Hold Laminating Brow Wax. And she has also released this collaboration lipstick with Marc Jacobs, because apparently the two have a very long-standing relationship, and the lipstick is a gorgeous red that I don't actually have from Pat McGrath. And it's, you know what, if it didn't have Marc Jacobs written on the outside component of the packaging, because the outside component of the packaging is black and white, and it spells out Marc Jacobs. If it wasn't spelling out Marc Jacobs, if it was just some sort of like a design, like a black and white design, I would have probably bought that, because I think there's just something so stunning about black and white against a red lipstick. Considering I don't actually have the color that she's offering for that limited edition release, I would have strongly considered buying the lipstick. But I don't like mega branded outside packaging. Not when it comes to clothes, not when it comes to bags. If you can see from 3 kilometers away that someone is wearing I don't know, a Louis Vuitton bag because it's like literally spelled out all over the bag, I don't like that. It's a matter of personal preference. I like things, like I don't mind if something is from a brand, and I don't mind that one can see that it's from a brand, but it needs to be a little bit more inconspicuous, like small lettering or like little details on the packaging itself, like a little buckle or something like that, that would imply which brand it's from. But when it becomes flashy, it's just really tacky to me. So that lipstick has that effect a little bit on me, like the spelling out of Marc Jacobs on the outside just gives me like super tacky feels. Solely for that reason, I'm not going to buy it. I am going to bronze using my diffused bronze diffused bronze light. No, yeah, the diffused bronze light by Hourglass. I have a little mini here. It is such a beautiful powder. I've been using it a lot off camera because it's one of my favorite like winter bronzers, but I realized I haven't actually used it on camera in a while, so I figured we can use it today. So those were all of my thoughts on Pat McGrath's newest release, and just basically on where the brand stands, and you know, the grip it has on my heart is slowly starting to release. I've seen some really cute new bronzers for the summer from Dior. Like the packaging of those and the presentation seems absolutely adorable. But I watched a video on those from Charlotte yesterday, and they've released 3 colors from this range, and at least on a swatch, I don't know if it was her lighting or the swatch or whatever, but they looked identical. Like all 3 bronzers looked identical to each other. And I think on the face they probably looked different because one of them was a very deep shade, the other one was very light shade, and I could see on her face that there is a difference. But on a heavy swatch they looked literally the same. I'm not super convinced about those quite yet. I do very much like the Dior like powders. I have one of their bronzers from the original line, and I think the formula of that bronzer is absolutely sublime, and I assume the new one is very similar to that, although it's mixed in with a highlighter, so it will have more of like a satin shimmery finish on the skin, not a matte, which is what the original powder bronzers from Dior are. But I think I might wait to swatch them in store, because I've noticed lately that we do get these sort of limited edition releases and we actually get them in store. So I can go, I can swatch, and I can decide for myself if that is something that I really want, and then I'll get it, you know, when it pops up on sale. For blush today, I'm going to take this RMS blush in the shade Maiden's Blush, a product that I've been trying to make up my mind about how I feel since I bought it, because it looks absolutely stunning in the pan, but for some reason I am not convinced about it when it comes to how it looks on my face. Because what I think is going on here is that the base color is gorgeous. It's this beautiful cinnamon shade. But then when you sheer it out in certain lighting, this has a shimmer to it, but the shimmer is... It doesn't show on the swatch. I don't think it's showing on the swatch. The shimmer is like purple. So I have the feeling that it looks a little bit off on my skin tone, and I'm just not convinced about this blush quite yet. I don't know if it's the color or the formula. I think the formula is fine, but I definitely do not share the sentiments that Charlotte has when it comes to this blush, and also Sophia. I think from Sophia Sees Beauty, they both really highly praise these blushes. And maybe if I had picked up a different shade, I would have more appreciation for them. But for whatever reason, this shade here is just... there's something weird about it on my skin. It's just like it's trying to be simultaneously very warm and very cool on my skin, and it's like sort of like contradicting itself. I don't know whether any of that is coming across on camera. Let me zoom you in just to show you like the color of the blush. I don't know. If you guys have any thoughts, do share. I'm very curious what you think about this blush on me, because I am very unconvinced. I'm actually thinking about offering it to one of my friends at work who rocks these like more cooler, like purpley type blushes better than I do, because I just don't see the cinnamon tones in this blush. Like once I blend it out, it takes on this like mauve, purple, pinkish hue that I don't like. I was hoping for this to be like a cinnamon with like a shimmer through it, like maybe like a warm pink shimmer through it. That would have been fine. But what happens on my skin is something different. I'm definitely going to be mixing and matching tones today. Usually this would be a highlighter that I use for like more warm tone looks, but I'm doing a mishmash today of different tones. So we're going in with the Chanel oversized highlighter in the shade Precious Coral, which was one of their holiday releases. I really like the formula of this. I think it is just such a stunning, flattering formula. And I do actually really like this color on myself. It's a beautiful apricot with a slightly cooler sheen. So I think it will complement the blush, which also, you know, is trying to be warm and cool at the same time. Like this is a product that's trying to be warm and cool at the same time, but like doing it right. Whereas the RMS blush is sort of trying the same, but it's just not getting the assignment. I am going to set now with the Airbrush Flawless Setting Spray from Charlotte Tilbury. I've been using this now for a couple of days, and the first thing I want to note is that this has a bit of a scent to it. It's a weird scent, not necessarily something that I'm truly enjoying, but it's also something that like evaporates really quickly, so I don't really mind and I don't really care for the scent. But it's something to note that there is a bit of a weird-ish type scent that I can't quite place, if I'm being honest. Maybe it's floral, I'm not sure. I don't know that so far I've seen like a huge difference between this one and the MAC Prep and Prime, like the Fix Plus from MAC. Maybe with like my NARS foundation, which tends to break up throughout the day, it delays, you know, the deterioration of that foundation a bit. So I think this one just sets maybe a little bit better than Fix Plus, but so far I haven't noticed like a remarkable huge difference. Probably I shouldn't have expected something like this, because how different could these type of products really be from each other? But, you know, just wanted to give you a little update in case you were curious. You have been slightly zoomed in so that we can get started on the look. First and foremost, I'm going to take a little bit of my beloved statuesque here. the pan of which is growing steadier by the day. And I've also decided that I think for the time being I don't need to repurchase statuesque. I've discovered other browns in my collection that are great to serve as transition shades, that sometimes even like do the job better, because in the end of the day statuesque has a certain tone to it and it doesn't necessarily fit with everything. So now I have, you know, specific tones of eyeshadows that I can go into if I want a specific like tone in my crease. Like if I want something very cool toned, I can go into the Vega palette from Lisa Eldridge, or I can pull out my Victoria Beckham Signature Quad, which I have absolutely been loving. And if I want something that's a little bit more neutral or slightly warm toned, I can go into my Lancome Quint in Bronze Absolute. And if I need something a little bit like warmer, camel toned, I can dip into the YSL Clutch Quad in Casaba Spices. So I have options at this point, so I don't necessarily feel like whenever I pan this eyeshadow I'm going to miss it that dearly. So luckily I don't have to worry about having to find a replacement for this eyeshadow, which is great because it's been discontinued and several of you have been so generous to offer to send it to me. I very much appreciate your offer, but I think at this point I'm good. You can pass the eyeshadow along to somebody else. So we talked about movies one of the last time that we chatted, and I actually still have not seen anything that was on my list. I wanted to watch The Color Purple and I wanted to watch the new Mean Girls musical. I haven't gotten around to watching any of those because one thing led to another and we just didn't get around to it. But I can recommend 2 sci-fi movies to you if you are into that genre. I'm going to apply the tiniest bit now of my NYX Glitter Glue because next I'm going in with a more metallic shadow. So one of the movies is not at all new, and if you are into that genre, possibly you've already seen it, but my husband is really into these like sci-fi, especially like AI sort of movies, like movies about robots and stuff. So a lot of the movies that we watch together are exclusively in that genre, like sci-fi movies, especially like mindfuck movies. So recently we watched 2 that I think were really good and worth recommending. One of them, like I said, is a little bit of an older movie and it is called Triangle. Let's take a little eyeshadow interlude here to talk about the Risque Rose Quad. I'm going to take this beautiful like neutral rosy pink shade to apply all over my lid, just using my good old finger for that, and I might still blend out the edges with a my blender brush, but I actually want to apply it to be not like a very thick layer because I want to put lavendering over top of that. But anyway, highly recommend Triangle. It is an excellent, like really good movie with an excellent plot twist, and definitely one of those where you can sort of figure out if you backtrack what the plot twist is about. Same goes for The Signal. The Signal is one of those movies where throughout the whole like movie you're like, what the fuck is going on? Excuse my language. And then in the last 5 minutes, or like literally the last 2 minutes, they sort of reveal the plot twist, and then the movie ends and you're like, wait, what? Thank goodness for Reddit. You can always Google whatever movie ending explained, and there are kind souls out there who will break down the movie to the smallest detail for you and basically baby feed it to you, which is amazing. I love that because sometimes I'm a dummy and I can't quite figure out what's going on, but I'm very grateful for Reddit. I'm going to take now the lavendering shade, the absolutely stunning, gorgeous, mesmerizing, one-of-a-kind lavendering, to apply a little bit over top of that peachy shade. And I'm going for a not heavy lid because, like I said, I want to apply a purple liner and I sort of don't want the eyeshadows to overtake too much from the glory of the purple liner. So I'm trying to keep it very chill on my lids. And I think so far it is going pretty okay. And I'm realizing now that I will be in need of a highlighter for like my inner corner, and the Precious Coral shade from Chanel is actually perfect for that because it's sort of in the same like peachy tonality, but it is a little bit brighter to actually highlight my inner corners somewhat. So yes, I highly recommend watching The Signal and Triangle. So Triangle is from 2009, it's relatively old. I think The Signal is maybe a little bit newer, but I'm not sure from which year it is. And like I said, they're both really good. If you like these sort of like plot twisty, mind-fucking movies, you are really going to enjoy these. I'm going to quickly apply the tiniest bit of statuesque on my lower lashes, because I'm going to keep the lower lashes also quite chill. And then we're going to go into the purple liner. For my purple liner, I'm going to go into the Nocturnal Nirvana quad and use this purple shade here, which tends to get a lot of negative emotions from people, and I can kind of understand where they're coming from. It is a very, very dark shade because it has a dark base and then this beautiful like purple shimmer. And it is also quite dry in texture. It is not unworkable, but if you're using it as your lid shade or your deepening outer corner shade, you might have to blend a little bit harder than some of these other textures that are present in here. So I can kind of understand where the negative emotions towards this shade are coming from. This shade is called, what's the name? Blitz Purple? Yeah, Blitz Purple. So this is the shade Blitz Purple. But what I love to use this shade for actually is like a purple liner, and for that it is absolutely perfect. Because it's that dark, it really creates definition in your lashes, but you can still see that flash of gorgeous purple. I really love using this shade this way. So if you have this quad and you're really struggling what to do with Blitz Purple, I highly recommend to try it as a liner. So again, let's hold our breath and say a prayer, because this is nerve-wracking. But I can do it. But I'm not going to talk through that. Now, as you will see, I'm keeping the eyeliner very thin and like as thin as possible, and that is for a reason. You can make it a lot thicker so that the purple really stands out. But if you have eyelids like mine and you're using a dry eyeshadow for this, over the course of the day, if it's too thick, it sort of like starts transferring here onto my fold, and I mean, I can clean it away, but I'm not the hugest fan. So I would rather, if I'm using a dry eyeshadow like this, try to keep the liner in a very thin line so that it doesn't transfer onto my fold. The other solution would be to mix the eyeshadow with Inglot Duraline or some sort of a mixing medium so that it becomes more like a liquid liner. But the sparkle is more subtle coming from Lavendering because I didn't put too much, but I don't know that it's coming across with my daylight at the moment, so I really wanted to show you with artificial lighting that it looks very, very pretty. It's subtle but very pretty. I really want the purple liner to sort of be the focal point of this look, as subtle as it is, so I also decided to keep it very chill and neutral on the lips, and I am wearing Muse from Lisa Eldridge, which is my nudist color in my velvet line from her, and I think it kind of like perfectly complements this look without being too much and without overpowering, you know, the little detail of the purple wing. Do let me know what you thought about this look, but I think the biggest takeaway from this video needs to be, if you're struggling with this purple shade, just try to use it as an eyeliner, because for that purpose it works beautifully. Either like spritz your brush with Fix Plus to apply it, or apply it dry, or apply it with a mixing medium like Duraline or whatever else you have in house. But I promise you, if you're struggling to use this eyeshadow as an actual like lid shade, try to use it as a liner. It is perfect for that. Anyway, I'm going to wrap this video up. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye!